Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaura Pimanandi Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajakachaja Stotara Satta Sri Sivat His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charan Haravindu Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namasarya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Pimanande all glorious to be assembled devotees all glorious to be assembled devotees all glorious to be assembled devotees all glorious to see Guru and to see Gauranga all glorious to Srila Prabhupada Ki Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Taksurum Militam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Padakamanam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Shyam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Swam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savalutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakandritam Nischa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustuti Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Haram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayana Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktira Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Svasayanam Mahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantha Raj, is king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Nangayate Girim Yatkripa Tamam Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yatkripa Tamam Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We are looking at a text from first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's see. Chapter 16, which is entitled How Parikshit Received at the Age of Kali. Text 18:1-8. Okay. Devotees can follow?
168.
Huh?
168.
You can follow somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Or you already know it by heart, maybe. Dharma Padayakena Charan Vichayam Upalabhya Gam Prishyati Smasru Vadanam Vivatsam Yes, Eva Mataram Dharma Padayakena Charan Vichayam Upalabhyagam Prishyati Smasru Prishyati Smasru Vadanam Vivatsam Eva Mataram Dharma Padayakena Charan Vichayam Upalabhyagam Prishyati Smasru Vadanam Vivatsam Eva Mataram Dharma Padayakena Charan Vichayam Upalabhyagam Prishyati Smasru Vadanam Vivatsam Eva Mataram
Dharma padayakena charan Vichayam upalabhyagam Gacchati smasru vadanam Vivatsam iva mataram
Dharmapadayakena charan Vichayamupalabhyagam Vichati smashu vadanam Vivatsamiva mataram
One more.
Dharmapadayakena charan Vichayamupalabhyagam Vichati smashu vadanam Vivatsamiva mataram
Dharma, the personality of religious principles. Pada, leg. Ekena, on one only. Charan, wandering. Vichayam, overtaken by the shadow of grief. Upalabhya, having met. Gam, the cow. Prishyati, sma, asked. Asru vadanam, with tears on the face. Vivatsam, one who has lost her offspring. Eva, like. Mataram, the mother. Translation and purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The personality of religious principles, dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma questioned the earth as follows. Kindly repeat after me. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull. And he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma questioned the earth as follows. Purport. The bull is the emblem of the moral principle, and the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood, it is to be understood that the people of the world are also in a joyful mood. The reason is that the bull helps production of grains in the agricultural field, and the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. The human society, therefore, maintains these two important animals very carefully, so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. But at the present moment, in this age of Kali, both the bull and the cow are now being slaughtered and eaten up as foodstuff by a class of men who do not know the Brahminical culture. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by the spreading of Brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. By advancement of such culture, the morale of society is properly maintained, and so peace and prosperity are also attained without extraneous effort. When Brahminical culture deteriorates, the cow and bull are mistreated, and the resultant action are prominent by the following symptoms. Translation again. The personality of religious principles and dharma was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma questioned the earth as follows. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes reference to Brahminical culture. Brahminical culture is the foundation of Vedic culture, and directly and intimately connected with Brahminical culture is what we sometimes refer to as cow culture. Cow culture. When we say cow culture, we include not only cows but bulls and all related calves, etc. It is, as Prabhupada points out, and as all of us as devotees can daily observe and experience, the very, we could say, sad state of affairs in the world today. Srila Prabhupada, in many places and on many occasions, refers to the neglect of cows and bulls as the root cause, actually, of all of the all of the ills and problems of the world. There is a direct link, direct connection between how cows and bulls are properly cared for and maintained to what will be, or what is the status, we could say, of people in society. Prabhupada makes that point. If cows and bulls are joyful in society, they're cared for properly, then the general population will also be joyful. It's a whole culture. Therefore, Prabhupada spoke about the Krishna consciousness movement not only as being simply a religious movement, but also as a cultural movement, as an educational movement, as a social movement to reinstate, actually, the basis of what Vedic culture is all about. And therefore, I was making reference to this, a very important statement that Prabhupada makes in his Light of the Bhagavad. How many have read Light of the Bhagavad? How many know about Light of the Yeah, okay. Very, not a big book, but quite profound. Many important instructions, many of which are connected with nature, and in particular with cows and bulls, whereby Srila Prabhupada directly explains how, and I paraphrase here, those who are serious to address and to bring about the solutions to the problems of the world must first give their attention for the proper care and protection of cows and bulls. In in modern day society, I mean, anyone who is not familiar with these teachings, Vedic knowledge, it's totally something that people cannot understand, and therefore, out of sheer ignorance and being misled, of course, by various leaders in society who are also devoid of this understanding, we have this massive daily massively we are inflicting all kinds of pains and suffering and beyond, actually. Slaughterhouses are common, and even in the land of Dharma, even in the land of Bharatvarsha, that is also present. And this, the importance of cow, the importance of bull, of course we can read about it, and we should, but we will not even begin to understand unless we directly become involved in reshaping, reviving, re-establishing what is described in the Vedic literatures as the norm within society. Unless we know what is the most simple, most scientific and sustainable system of meeting our daily necessities of life. Means unless we understand what is real, the Vedic science of economy, which is again one of the basic fundamental traditional sciences. And it's amazing how, again, when we read about it in the pages of the Bhagavatam, this verse this morning is making reference. Of course, more details are given in various other verses. But one would think that as devotees, some things we are doing. I mean, this project here is one of a number of projects we have in the world where we are endeavoring to give care and attention to cows and bulls. But we should be doing it on a much larger scale. And that can only come about if we as devotees become more clear, become more convinced as to what is meant to be the more natural way of living. We have heard it many, many times from Srila Prabhupada, who spoke about modern civilization as being a soul-killing civilization, modern civilization as being a doomed civilization. We hear it, but somehow it doesn't really register as it should. Yeah. If we actually knew that, if we actually realized that modern civilization is a doomed civilization and will soon come to an end, if we actually understood this, we would be doing more things than at present. Of course, everything in the Vedic culture is, again, both in terms of spiritual knowledge that we hear about. I mean, the whole spiritual subject matter of Krishna, consciousness of Krishna as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's only a very small percentage of people in the world who actually even know this. The subject matter of tattva is a deep subject matter, and of course, in our Guru Parampara, our acharyas have especially focused and very elaborately discussed. It's one of the main features when we look and read the various commentaries of our acharyas on the subject matter of the Absolute Truth. In a parallel way, not only is the subject matter of tattva, spiritual topics, very, very deep subject matters, but the subject matter in terms of Krishna's material energy. In the first canto, I can't remember exactly which section, there is one particular purport. Prabhupada comments on the text, one particular text where Parikshit Maharaj is asking Shukadeva Goswami, here is Parikshit Maharaj, who knows that he will die in 7 days, right? And he's sitting, he's facing such a great personality like Shukadeva Goswami, who's a self-realized soul. And at one particular time in this exchange or conversation, he is asking Shukadeva Goswami to explain about the cosmos. And Prabhupada comments, why would someone who's about to die, who has been, cursed, why is he taking interest in something material? And Prabhupada explains how, actually for the devotees of the Lord, it is not only the spiritual subject matters that arouse interest and appreciation for the Lord, but also understanding how this whole material cosmic manifestation is working. What are the different laws? We say laws of material nature. Dharma actually refers to laws, as we know. One of the many aspects or definitions of dharma. And therefore, I think we need to make this point more often, that our interest as devotees in material nature is different from those who are not devotees. Those who are karmis, materialistic persons, they take interest in material nature to see how much they can squeeze out for their benefit, for their sense gratification. we as devotees should also have interest and devote. That's meant to be especially an activity of Brahmanas, those who are more Brahminical, to study not only the spiritual subject matters, but to know and understand and become well versed in what is meant to be the more simple and natural arrangement in society where everyone actually can be happy, because ultimately everyone wants to be happy. And this verse is pointing to one of the fundamental ways, basic, essential, by which humanity can meet all of its necessities of life and not have to experience a kind of chaotic situation that we are facing today. We read about how during the reign of Lord Ramachandra and other great Vedic kings, because they ruled based on the principles of dharma, the people were happy. There was no excessive heat or excessive cold. Even in the material world, that's the point, right? When we are understanding and following the principles of dharma, then, as stated in various places in the Bhagavatam, all the things related to the Atma, ahaitukiya pratihata yagatma suprasidati. All of the needs of the Atma means either body, mind, or spirit, are easily met. So we as devotees, and we as individuals who have received this knowledge coming in Guru Parampara, in so many ways, this aspect, very often people will tend to conclude that we have some sentimental attachment to cows and bulls. Sentiment, of course, cannot be avoided, but it's not simply sentimental. There are valid, reasons, logical reasons, scientific reasons. And we need to have devotees who actually study. We need to have some of our brahmanas who study and teach these things as well. Otherwise, most people in the world today, as we know, or if not most, at least a growing number of people in our very heavily materialistic oriented society have less belief or faith in God. So if we only speak about spiritual subject matters, they're not inclined to listen. But if we can present, not to say that we should not present and discuss spiritual topics, but simultaneously, if we can, according to whom we are approaching, if we can also become well-versed in especially subject matters related to cows and bulls, and why is it that this is so fundamental and essential for creating a living condition and for ultimately bringing peace and prosperity in the world today. Automatically, peace, prosperity, and health will follow when we agree to live based on what is recommended in the Shastra. So this is obviously a very deep subject matter that definitely requires more time and more attention. And if that time and attention is given, then we will be able to see more devotees or more projects or more temples doing something very practical in terms of caring for cows. It would be interesting to find out in our, let's say, devotee population or temple population, how many temples we have in the world? Approximately, I think figure 800 something.
Yeah,
About 800. Yeah. Most of them being in towns and cities. Smaller percentage in rural area. So out of 800 temples, how many temples actually have a Goshala? I mean, how many temples even think about? Of course, in cities, it's more of a challenge. But temple actually means, in our Vedic culture, even I was in Bangkok quite some years back. One of my godbrothers, he's been there for many years, and he gets milk from, there's, Thailand is called the Kingdom of Thailand, like the Kingdom of Cambodia. Still a few places, they have, they have kings, and they have a palace. He stays close to the palace, and he, along with other people who stay close to the palace, they get milk from the Goshala of the king. So, I mean, it's in Bangkok, but he's still maintaining a Goshala. His palace is probably quite big, and it's surrounded by water, and I was told they have crocodiles also. If you visit old temples like in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, that's how they used to make, well, Angkor Wat is a temple, so either temples or palaces were well protected. So kings traditionally, who were pious, they would personally have their own Goshala. They would show by example the importance of protecting cows and protecting bulls. It's a very deep subject matter that all of us, we have a duty and a responsibility to more deeply. We should not think that because it's something, why should we spend time? Some devotees may think, why do we have to spend so much time? I mean, we are a preaching society. We should be distributing books. We should be doing so many other things. But this whole aspect, which is again very foundational to the Vedic culture, proper care and attention to the cows and bulls, is an area that needs much more attention than we are giving at present, and we should see that directly as part of our, dharmic duty, responsibility, which is, of course, directly connected with the proper care of cow is representing Bhumi, He's the emblem of Mother Earth. And again, there's a direct link and connection. Some of our devotees who have given more time and attention do give wonderful seminars at times on the subject matter, but in general, it's much less known or understood that we as human beings are we don't realize it, but we are very dependent on the presence of cows and bulls and what they are meant to do as their dharma, which means that they're meant to be largely not in goshalas. Cows, for the most part, are not meant to be in goshala. They're meant to be out in the field grazing. That's how they have the whole setup in... Who's been to Patmera? It's on the border of Gujarat, Rajasthan. Largest goshala in the world, where they have, anywhere between 1 lakh and 3 lakhs of cows. It's up and down. They're connected with a number of villages, and that's how they have a whole system where, some goshala is there mostly for maybe older cows or diseased cows, but in general, when cows are healthy, they're meant to be out grazing, even at nighttime as well. The situation is different from one place to another. First canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a lot of discussion and reference to this important topic of cows and bulls, and at least we should try to understand that this needs to become more a subject matter that is more prominent, not only in terms of discussion or study, but in terms of practical application as well. So it's good that in some of our projects, we do have devotees who are understanding and active in this respect. We need to increase that, let's say, manyfold. So, yeah, this text was chosen for me this morning. So there may be some, not maybe, there's some reason why we choose certain texts, but there might be some particular aspect. There's so many aspects. Any subject matter that we take up, especially something of this nature, because everything in the Shastra that is taught, again, both of a spiritual nature or Krishna's material energy, cosmic manifestation is very involved. Krishna, everything emanates from Krishna, and Krishna is perfect and complete, and therefore whatever he does, whatever he creates, whatever system he establishes, there's a lot that is generally less known or understood, and I guess that's part of what we are meant to do, all of us, to try and more deeply go into the subject matter so that we can understand more and come closer to what is meant to be in society. Yeah. So we can take a few minutes for any comment or question on this. Yes.
And I got involved in this project very recently.
Recently? How recently?
2 years back.
2 years. Okay.
And I was more involved in the city temple and administration. Then I started studying Prabhupada's teachings and some kind of, because my father was a farmer.
Your father was a farmer. Okay, yeah.
I've also been brought up in a village environment for first 10 years. And I
Yes.
went to city for studies.
Right. Higher studies.
I have seen our home had buffaloes, not so many cows. We had milk and dairy and tractor, both farming also. So I've been reflecting and kind of trying to understand what's happening and how do we go. The major change which has come in the society is in the mindset. The mind and thoughts and priorities of people have changed. Even in villages, now we are in a village,
Yeah.
different than the previous time. Previous time, agriculture and maintaining cows, that was a part of the life only. It was a part of the economical system also, it was a part of the life.
Yes.
Now what has happened is that it has not remained that economical because situations have changed. For example, like earlier the cows and all, they were maintained by families, not a very organized big goshalas in general. And they will maintain and they will be having that mindset of having them as family members. I remember my grandfather crying when a buffalo died at the last rites and all.
Yeah.
So now it has become very different. People have become very materialistic and they see everything in terms of earning money, and that's how they exploit Mother Nature also and Mother Cow also. So when we go to an organized setup, then economic system becomes really like a factor, whether it's ISKCON or anything.
Economic system becomes
Becomes a very major factor, whether
okay.
economically
Yes.
it's viable.
Yeah, correct.
Every ISKCON temple collects donation for Goshala. So they're not able to run the Goshala in a self-sufficient way where whatever the milk and other products are there, even though we are making cow products, we have milk, but actually every ISKCON temple is buying milk, every ISKCON temple is practically buying ghee and everything. Even in this farm we buy. We have cows, but it's still that what our requirements are not fulfilled.
Yeah.
So is there some model where we can prove and we have that this is how you make it very economical, financially viable? Because this is one factor, apart from the mindset. Mindset has changed. But even that factor will be very good that cows are there, bulls are there, lifelong you can maintain. This is how we do it. Because even the chara is so costly, the silage is costly. And you can't sell the milk at very big price because whatever reasons will go there. And so this is one of the factors which I am not really understand. We should resolve it. How do we really aim for it and sort it out? Yeah. Or should we do that or should we not do that? Because previously it was a family business, family home thing. So people never thought of this kind of economical aspect. But now
I would say that along the way, with all the changes that have taken place since the last century especially, where even in villages, as you rightly mentioned, the whole mindset has changed tremendously from how things used to be. And definitely the very strong emphasis on so-called economic development and materialistic way of life is one of the major problems. And we fail, even as devotees, we often, I suppose largely because we haven't given it sufficient thought, But we fail to understand how when the Vedic system is in proper order, when people are in villages, are dharmic, have land, have cows, they don't have that mentality of selling. Modern day society, as you point out, agriculture has become a business, agro-business. Dairy has become an industry. So in the Vedic culture, just like we know, knowledge is meant to be given in a very selective manner by qualified individuals to other qualified individuals. In other words, qualified brahmanas in the Vedic culture will be happy to give knowledge without taking fees to only select individuals who are qualified to receive that knowledge. So in other words, knowledge in the Vedic culture, that's more easy for us to understand, is not a commodity that we sell. Modern education is the opposite. You cannot go to this college or that school unless you pay fees, and the teachers are salaried, and they go on strike at times because they don't have enough money. So we have lost some of the basic fundamental understanding principles. When the basic principles, fundamental principles are no longer understood, then obviously we don't follow them, and it's like the deviation increases more and more. In the same way that knowledge is not meant to be sold, milk is also not meant to be sold. Food is also not meant to be sold. Land is not meant to be sold. But the whole system today is the opposite. And we're caught up in that as devotees. So, because what prevails in the world today is very much the adharmic way of looking at things, which is based on just basically material considerations. The American dream is that everyone become more and more wealthy, and by becoming more wealthy, we'll become more happy. This is the mindset for the majority of people. So the fundamental basic understanding needs to be reintroduced. In other words, human form of life is not meant for that purpose. It is meant for self-realization. And we voluntarily accept in the Vedic culture to live a more simplified life and to be, to follow the good instructions and guidance that is given in the Shastra, that is given by our acharyas, etc. So that's one of the main reasons, I would say, why our different projects, where we do have some rural projects, will not become successful until we learn to establish communities of devotees who will actually, to the best of their ability, and that will be more and more possible or more easy to, we could say, duplicate, by understanding the whole psychology and the whole our foremost example, again, being the village of Vrindavan. So, unless we have devotees who are gradually trained and educated in these basic concepts and principles, the tendency will be to mimic or imitate what is ongoing in modern day society. We have to become very, very strong and very clear and very firm in these basic principles. Prabhupada's whole his teachings regarding establishing self-sufficient communities, to a large extent, still not properly understood by our devotees, and therefore it's not really been implemented. And in places where they have attempted, in there we have very few examples where they are approaching, let's say, more like self-sufficiency, where they're producing most of what they need, and the devotees are satisfied to live this more simplified lifestyle. We are, by the simple fact that we are part of this whole modern deviation of, modern way of living, it is extremely difficult, very, very challenging for us as a society and for us as individual devotees to really grasp and then, to go from where we are to where we should go. We do have devotees who are making different, Panchagavya products like that, which is to a large extent meant to bring some awareness and help our other devotees. But, when majority of people are living in rural areas and having their cows in the land, they don't make Panchagavya products. I mean, they use them. They utilize just naturally and spontaneously, and it's part of their lifestyle. So we have this tremendous challenge to go from where we are, which is highly modernized way of life, heavily conditioned also by the economics of the day. And our model is there in terms of Vrindavan. But when we hear various instructions given by Srila Prabhupada, who's reminding us that, this whole modern system, modernization, modern civilization, being a doomed civilization, then the more we are allowing ourselves to remain dependent on that system, we're going to be in for a big shock, like the majority of people in the world as well, because it simply cannot continue. It will not continue. And what we need to ask ourselves, those who are especially in leadership positions, what are we practically doing to prepare ourselves for that eventual major change that's going to take place? And that's why Prabhupada gave so many instructions and directives, even though he was very often being challenged by his own devotees. I mean, who were just telling that, well, Prabhupada, this is modern way of living. I mean, we have to, how can we go back to something that seems so remote and so different from what we see, especially in America? So part of that is we need to have our devotees. We need to have some of our Brahmana devotees, those who are having more more time and more natural interest to more deeply study the subject matter. And yeah, we need to, once we have devotees who are trained, who are more knowledgeable, and who can actually That expression is there, right? Paradigm shift. In many ways, actually, we have to make a paradigm shift. And to make paradigm shifts is not easy. You know. But ultimately, what Prabhupada is talking about is a paradigm shift. Modern day society is going, as Prabhupada would say, it's on the royal road to hell, and going there very quickly. We know what is meant to be the ideal way of living, and who are some of the most important elements to create such a living condition. Brahmanas, cows, isn't it? Land. These are described in the pages of the Bhagavatam. This is the real value. This is the real wealth. And of course, there's artha and paramartha, transcendental knowledge. So we have to become more expert in understanding these two levels of wealth. There's spiritual wealth and there's material wealth also. People think of material wealth in modern day society by so much of so-called advancement in producing so many material things or having so much of money, etc. But we read about these descriptions. We need to more deeply realize what does it mean? What is the actual real wealth? And then ultimately that has to come from our leadership level, isn't it? And it's not been easy in terms of addressing this whole dimension, which remains 50% of Prabhupada's unfulfilled mission. We've delayed for a long time, and if we continue to delay, then it's overall not good for anyone. So I think one of the basic components or essential components is we need to give more time to educate ourselves. And again, Varnashram College is for that very purpose. Varnashram College is going to teach our devotees who have not been exposed to this in their earlier life, and Gurukul. These two are, you see, a group of devotees a few years back, we started some project actually in Mayapur. And our mandate is three, basically. One is to focus on establishing Gurukulas, proper Gurukulas, traditional Gurukulas, with all the challenges that are there. Number one. Possibly number one, even before establishing Gurukulas, is to establish Varnashram College. Because that's when we can train individuals who can become knowledgeable and qualified to actually help establish Gurukulas. And the purpose of Varnashram College and Gurukulas is to actually train individuals not to become part of the modern workforce, but to be part of what is meant to be the golden era, the new age that our acharyas speak about, and which is what is meant to be the Vedic way of living. So the third mandate is to actually reconstruct, rebuild, reinforce our Vedic villages. We're not at all convinced, we don't understand this point, unfortunately, that the vast majority of people, including the vast majority of devotees, are meant to live in villages. We will give false arguments that, well, what about the preaching? Well, Prabhupada did not want to do one and neglect the other. which is what we're doing today actually, the preaching needs to go on, and simultaneously we need to, in a practical ways, demonstrate. And this is also meant to be part of the preaching, in practical, isn't it? Some years ago, one devotee was telling me he was distributing books, maybe in LA or something, and a couple of days after distributing books at some particular place, one person who had bought the book, he brought it back to him and he said, "I'm giving you back the book." The devotee was surprised. Why? Why you're giving back the book? And the person was telling, "I read the book, maybe it was the first canto, I don't know, but I've studied also your society, and I don't see that you are applying what is written in the book. I don't see that happening very much. You know? In other words, we have the topmost philosophy, we have the topmost knowledge, but knowledge is not sufficient. Jnanam, then vijnanam is there. We have to come from jnanam, we have to come to vijnanam, realized knowledge, practical application of that knowledge. And that's most important. Otherwise, how we can convince people, isn't it? We cannot convince, even our own devotees will not be able to convince or keep our own devotees if we don't properly hear and put into application what our founder Acharya has explained again and again, isn't it? So education is, I mean, my observation is that education is the key. Prabhupada spoke about, I mean, he himself in the early days spoke about to reestablish Brahminical culture, introducing Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, etc. So at that time, Prabhupada was very much focused on, let's say, creating and training brahmanas. We need to go, we need to continue the process, so to speak. Yeah. Any other? Mataji had her hand up.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Actually, you told us very nicely about it is.
Yeah, the acoustics.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Actually, you told us about how cows are. We don't have only sentimental connections with the cows, but it is also practical and scientific. So it's very nice, and we also like practically we get devotees and other people who call us, and they don't have cow near their house. So they will tell us, yeah, they have shown some horoscope. So they said they have some problems. So you feed the cows and it will go away. So they will call us and they will tell us to feed the cows because we don't have cows near our house. So that is also one way of preaching people about the cows, how important it is. And I just had a thought that Maharaji, you are preaching so nicely about how cow is important, and I wanted to know, you had this love and affection for cows from beginning naturally, or how you developed this, and let's see your preaching.
I'm always reminded of how, Srila Prabhupada, who was a city boy, Calcutta, born in Calcutta, he spoke so extensively about the importance of village life and of cows and bulls, etc., as we see in this purport. So, actually, when I joined the movement, well, I suppose like all devotees, we read different purports, but some things don't come out, or they're not so meaningful. For many, many years, to me, varnashram was just a word, didn't really mean so much. And cows also, but then after some time, I think we all experience that at different levels. Some things at some particular point, at some level of development in our individual Krishna consciousness become more meaningful, and therefore there was one that maybe I can try to pull it out and share it with the devotees later. One devotee from Australia who has since passed away was looking after cows, and he made a very simple kind of documentary where he had the cows speak. It was like a monologue. The cows, I mean, the script was there, and it was showing different scenes of of cows, and basically explaining how, he was making a case for the cows. Here we are, and we're being neglected, and nobody cares for us. Even devotees have forgotten about us, And I remember hearing that many years back, and it's somehow, sometimes we hear something, it just registers more. And I remember that was something that brought me more realizations and started taking more interest in this whole aspect of of the Vedic culture, and then hearing more things. For example, to me, this essay on Gita Nagari was also very important because Prabhupada speaks about maybe not so much about cows as such, but he speaks about what is meant to be the more simple and natural way of living. He does speak about education. He speaks about many things actually in that essay called Gita Nagari. So all of us actually, we all have our individual, history in terms of when we joined, what we did, etc. If we, it's a question of being as receptive as possible when we hear subject matters that are presented, I suppose especially in the Bhagavatam class, but not exclusively in the Bhagavatam class. And Krishna reciprocates with his devotees, and ultimately whatever little knowledge or understanding we have, is Krishna who's helping us to deepen our understanding. And that's one of the nice prayers in the seventh canto, chapter 11. Narada Muni explains to Yudhisthira Maharaj, Dharma mulam hi bhagavan sarva veda mayo harihi smritam cha tabidam rajan yena satma prasiditi. Very similar to the very famous verse in the first canto, Savaikum Samparo Dharma. So in that verse, in the seventh canto, Narada Muni basically is telling how, the essence of Dharma, as explained also in the Bhagavad Gita, is Krishna, to know about Krishna. And that all of our necessities can be met when we know and follow the principles of Dharma. And one of the important instructions in that verse is Smritam Chata Bidam Marajan. Those are actually devotees. They will, Smriti means to remember. All of us, as practicing devotees, we should be endeavoring to try and understand, to try and remember, to try and deepen our understanding about Dharma and how we can apply that in a practical way in our daily lives, and also within our society and within general society as well. And of course, this is like a major area in terms of cows and bulls. So by Prabhupada spoke very often of Varnashrama Dharma, and that book also, I was making reference, I don't have it here, but speaking about Varnashrama is very helpful. If devotees have not yet read we've been encouraging devotees to kind of form groups and on a weekly basis just spend half an hour, 45 minutes to study and read what basically it's like all of the, most of the various instructions given by Srila Prabhupada on the subject matter in that book is gradually being translated in different languages. So if all of us try to be receptive to what is being presented in the Shastra and by especially our founder Acharya, then gradually things will improve. Yeah. Okay, I think we've passed our time. So.
I think it will take a lot of time.
We can have a meeting to follow the limits. More things to discuss.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is not the end of it. The beginning of it. Right.
You have started inciting us to think about it.
Well, that's the whole idea. Right. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj ki.
Jai.